Okay, everybody, we're back here in the shop today, and we got one of the most common requested jobs a gunsmith gets, and that is working on a trigger. If you got a good smooth trigger, lightweight, it's going to make you a better shooter. It's going to make your rifle a lot more accurate. As long as you're not pulling on it real hard, it'll help you stay on target. So having a good crisp trigger is very important, especially if you're going to shoot long range. If you're hunting, you want to make sure you get that ethical kill. So today what I got here is a Winchester Model 670. This particular one is in really good shape. I'll show you here. Look at that bad boy. Really nice and clean. Very little rust on it. And this thing was produced in 1966 to 1979. I'm not a weapons expert. I like to think I know a lot about guns, but anytime I start working on a gun, I like to do a little research on them and figure out as much as I can about them. The 670 was made kind of as a more affordable option to the Model 70 bolt action they had. Model 70 bolt action was a little nicer. This has got the hidden magazine, so you can't take the magazine plate off the bottom and clean out the bottom. Everything has to be through the top here. You have to separate it to clean inside your magazine here. So it does have like the fixed magazine like most normal bolt actions. Again, the 670 models though, they didn't have the base plate on the bottom that you can take off. Still a great firearm. Like I said, a little bit more affordable than the Model 70. This particular one, doing the research on the serial number, was made in 1973. So for something that's older than I am, she's looking really good. So we're going to get the trigger all tuned up on this thing. We're going to bore sight it, which is another super common job a gunsmith gets, and then we'll take her to the range and make sure we're on paper and where we need to be. So let's get into this trigger. On these triggers, and especially the newer Model 70s, got a really nice trigger. And these, I already took out 2 of the screws here, but you just got to take out the 3 screws on the bottom here to get to this thing. And the screws on this rifle in particular are really nice. The heads are not messed up, which is really rare. A lot of these older firearms like this, you can tell somebody got a wrong size flathead in there and messed up, goobered up the threads, or not the threads, but the head of the screw a little bit. Now when you separate this thing, you want to make sure, since it doesn't have the base plate, you can't take the magazine out from the bottom, your trigger guard comes right off. And another cool thing about these, compared like the newer rifles, most of these are aluminum. This is all steel. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and set her on here to make it a little easier for us. Make sure you can still see here. And we'll just lift up. And I already made sure this thing was clear. But we'll go ahead and show everybody for funsies here that we're nice and safe. And then obviously it pulls right out the top, and then you've got your magazine here. And this is what I was talking about on the other models. This base plate will come off, and you can take that out, and you can clean inside your magazine really easy. All right, so before we get started go too far on this project, let's take our trigger gauge here and see where we're at, and then we'll adjust this thing. So I'm going to check it out here. Ooh, it said 7. That's not good. Let's see if I can show you guys where we're at. So, just slow, steady squeeze. 7 pounds, if you can see it. That's not good. So what we're going to do here on these, it's got an adjustable trigger here. These nuts and that spring is what provides tension to it. Something else we're going to do here is just polish up our connector here from our trigger to our sear there. Make sure it's all nice and smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and get busy on that, and I'll come back and show you what we did and how well we made our trigger. Hopefully we can get it down to about 3 pounds. I'm hoping. All right, be back in a little bit. Okay, let me show you what we got so far. I had to take everything off of here to get it done right because of the way the spring was, and it just doesn't feel right either. And I noticed this screw right here. You might be able to see. You can definitely feel it. Can't really see it too good on the camera, but there's some surface rust on there. So we're gonna clean that all up and get all the surface rust off. Probably apply a little bit of cold bluing to it too after we get the rust off. That screw goes right through there on your trigger. That little hole right there. So that makes for a not good smooth trigger pull. And then here's our spring, and it is stiff. And that goes right back there on your trigger here. Now your screw right here, if you screw it in, it hinges right here. So if you screw that screw in, it limits your travel play. Your travel, not travel play, but travel. And then if you screw it in, then you got more travel. So you don't want over travel, but you don't want too much. So there's not a whole lot of adjustment with these two nuts here. I may have to take one nut off and see, but we'll play with it. And then also on here, you can see if we can get the camera to focus in. Yeah, you can kind of see some machining marks on there. So it's not the smoothest. So we'll polish that up, and we'll polish our sear. Can't talk today. We'll polish our sear there and make a nice crisp feel. All right, let me get to it. All right, so spend some time polishing our trigger and our sear and getting our trigger screw there really cleaned out or cleaned off, and then cleaned out our hole for our trigger. I use a Q-tip, and actually it don't show up in the camera too good, but you can see there's about some brown, a little bit of rusty stuff. And I just got that from inside the trigger there. So I just cleaned it out real good. Make sure it's all nice and smooth, and we'll make sure it's lubed up before we put it in there. Sometimes just a good cleaning on some of these triggers makes a world of difference. But one thing I wanted to say real quick, I polished this. You can probably see zoom is not, or focus is not really good there, but it's pretty shiny. And the same thing with the sear here. I got the sear shined up on the back side, and then the front side here, right there, that's where it connects. One thing, some gunsmiths won't even do trigger jobs because they don't want to do it. And there's so many drop-in triggers now that's so good, and it's really easy just to drop in a trigger. But if you do it wrong, if you remove material instead of just polishing is fine, but if you remove material, you change the angle anyway, you could get, you could have a bad day. You drop the weapon and it accidentally fires or something. You don't get positive engagement. So you want to make sure that your angles, look at your angles before. You can see the angle on that. It's a positive engagement. I don't like removing any material from a trigger because it's, like I said, it could cause accidental discharge if the trigger's not engaging properly and everything like that. So if you're going to do this at home, be really careful about it. If you're not 100% certain on it, take it to a gunsmith. Have them do it for you. Anyway, some cool facts there. I'm going to go ahead and throw this thing back together and test our trigger pull. Be back with you in just a second. All right. Today I kind of rambled on a little bit. Probably gave you way more information you wanted to know, but hopefully you don't mind. Anyway, I got everything put back together, and it's nice, crisp, and smooth. Depending on where you hold the trigger, where you pull the trigger at, you get about 3.5 to 4 pounds of pull here. Let's see if I can show you here. Boom! Oh, there it is. 3.5. Can you see it? 3.5. What? That is twice as good as it was before. So, and it's a lot more crisp. We'll put it all back together and see how she feels inside the stock, but it'll be the same inside the stock and without the stock. When you put this together, since it's got the hidden magazine, it's kind of a trick to get it all lined up, but it's not too hard. So anyway, I'll throw it back together and go out to the range, bore sighter, make sure everything's where it needs to be. And remember what Uncle Ben said, with great power comes great responsibility. Be a safe, responsible gun owner out there. All right, see you next time.